Well, the United States has said very clearly, and we reiterate this today, we've been saying this for the past 3 years of the Trump administration, that we will hold the regime in Iran accountable for any actions directly from their regime or from their proxies. So whether that is the Houthis, whether that is Kataib Hezbollah, Asab al-Haq, Hezbollah in Lebanon, I mean, we could go through the list of Iranian proxies in the region. It's important to remember that while we are incredibly happy that there was no loss of American life, we still, and we're telegraphing this very publicly to the regime in Iran, that any attacks by their proxies, they will also still be held accountable for. Well, obviously, it is never good whenever Tehran decides to launch missiles against Iraqi bases that happen to hold not only U.S. forces, but coalition forces as well, right? So the Iranian regime not only risked American lives and Iraqi lives last night in these attacks, they also risked the lives of coalition partners from around the world. And so they put a lot of troops at risk. We are incredibly thankful and grateful that no one was killed. That's incredibly important. But it also is still a risk that the regime in Tehran feels that they can put so many innocent lives at risk, and that they can violate Iraqi sovereignty in order to do so. Yeah, obviously we work incredibly closely with the Kurdistan Regional Government. We of course have an ambassador in Iraq, and we have our Assistant Secretary Dave Shanker here at the State Department, who works incredibly closely with these leaders. Secretary Pompeo is on the phone with them. We know that we did not see Kurdish leaders in the Iraqi Parliament as a part of that vote at the end of last week as it related to U.S. military presence. We strongly believe that it's in the best interest of all Kurds and all Iraqis for American and coalition presence to remain in Iraq as a part of the de-ISIS campaign and a part of that mission. We have been able to assist the Iraqi security forces with the territorial defeat of the Islamic Caliphate that ISIS represents, but that fight remains ongoing, and that's why we believe is important and crucial for Kurds in the Iraqi Parliament, for their voice to be heard. Yeah, well, the Secretary has an incredibly close relationship with Mr. Barzani. They've worked together for many years, going back to whenever the Secretary was director of the CIA. So the relationship between the United States and the KRG is incredibly strong. We continue to work together in a variety of issues, and we will continue to do so in the coming weeks as we hopefully de-escalate and seek for the Iranian regime to stop violating Iraqi sovereignty. Remember, it wasn't just last night that the regime in Iran violated Iraqi sovereignty. They have been doing so for years. And that is why you saw Iraqis taking to the streets to protest their government, to protest the malign influence of the regime in Iran. What you saw last night is just a pattern of behavior from the regime in Iran to violate Iraqi sovereignty. Well, I think that that's very self-evident. Obviously, we have a number of allies in the Middle East. We work incredibly close with our partners in the Gulf on a variety of issues. The Secretary is in the Middle East quite often. We have worked also through the Warsaw Process with Brian Hook, our special representative for Iranian issues here at the State Department. We have worked to build out this Warsaw Process to make sure that we get more countries, not just in the Middle East, but in Europe and around the world, to help us push back against the malign influence of the regime. And as you saw just a few hours ago, President Trump has called on the remaining signatories of the JCPOA to get out of that agreement and for the world to come together to pressure Tehran to behave like a normal nation. Our policy of maximum economic pressure remains.